Hola amigos de Wine News TV Puerto Rico, estoy con una de las bodegas más conocidas de Napa Valley, Gurgitch Hills. Es una bodega histórica, ha estado ya casi 4 décadas en el mercado, tal vez más. Estoy con una persona que lleva 37 años trabajando con la bodega, Maryanne Wedner. Maryanne, thank you for being here. I was just telling our viewers that we are in the presence of one of the most historical, well-known, and I would say persistent of the Napa Valley wineries. It's so good to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the winery?
Certainly. Mr. Gurgitch came to the United States from Croatia, and he had studied winemaking there. One of his professors had a sabbatical in Napa Valley and told him that Napa Valley was paradise. So he decided that he would like to make wine in paradise. And through Germany, Canada, and finally into the United States, he got to Napa Valley. He worked for many wonderful winemakers, Lee Stewart at Souverain, Andrei Chalichev at BV, Robert Mondavi. And then he was asked to open a ghost winery, Chateau Montelena. So he brought in all the equipment, made all the grape contracts, and he made a wine in 1973 that was entered into a blind tasting in Paris against all the best French white Burgundies, and his wine came in first. And that really put Napa Valley and California and America on the making map.
For sure. I mean, Mike Gurgitch, whenever you read about the history of Napa, you see that the same names keep popping up. You have Robert Mondavi, you got Mike Gurgitch, Andrei Chalichev, of course, and so many others who were pioneers. So what can you tell us about? We have a Chardonnay and a Cabernet Sauvignon, the most famous white varietal in Burgundy and the most famous red variety in Bordeaux. What can you tell us about this Chardonnay that we're going to taste today in front of the camera?
I think first of all, you need to understand, because he's European, all of our wines are made in a very European style. They are made to be enjoyed with family and food and friends. They are definitely food-friendly wines. Our Chardonnay has no malolactic fermentation, no secondary fermentation, so it doesn't have that butterscotch, buttery kind of finish, but it is kept surly, and the dead yeast cells add a protein to it that gives it a beautiful body, but without the butteriness.
Yeah. Let's give it a try here to see what we find. Thank you, Maryanne. Cheers. I love the nose here. It's not explosive. It's very perfumed. It express rather than impress. It fills, and sometimes I say, oh, this smells very French. No, it's American. But you can definitely see that there's an homage to Burgundy of sorts, because it smells clean. I get the lemon notes. It's very elegant, very elegant. From the get-go, you know that you're going to have something very, very unique on your palate. Let's see.
I love it. I think it's important to know, too, that we now own all of our own vineyards, and every one of our vineyards is certified organic now, so we farm only organically. And I think that expression comes out in the fruit, and the wines taste like the berries taste when they come.
Yeah, it's very little makeup here. So in terms of food pairing, when you open one of these bottles at home, what do you eat? What do you prepare?
Everything.
You're a big fan of this wine, right?
Yeah. I find it's particularly wonderful with things like salmon, of course, chicken, but then stretching it a little bit, things like ceviche, all kinds of wonderful sauces. It can hold up to those buttery sauces because it has that beautiful acidity. We use only the natural yeast that occurs on the grape. So we're not adding anything at all to our wines. We're just letting them make themselves.
Good. Obviously, the wine is made in the vineyard. I mean, in the soil, in the dirt. Let's see what we have here in this Cabernet. What can you tell us about, before we go into the aromas, the 2013 vintage in Napa?
13?
No, the 2015. Oh my God, I am biased. Because of my son, yeah, exactly. No, the 2015.
Okay, 2015 was one of the drought years. It was the third year of the drought. So smaller production, smaller berries, but much more intense characteristics. Um, was an easy year as far as production, but just a lot smaller. So you know, this particular vintage is quite a bit smaller than say the 17.
On the nose, I get immediately that gorgeous sort of pepper, bell pepper. You got that pencil shavings, a little bit of dark cocoa, the cherry, the what is this word? The blackberry, the currants.
Yeah, definitely dried fruit. Definitely, yeah, beautiful. A little bit. And what's interesting is that the vineyard that this comes from, a great majority of it was planted in 1958. And because of our farming, we're able to preserve these vineyards where if you go through Napa Valley now, you'll see a lot of vineyards are torn up and replanted. We prefer to keep a smaller production, but to keep those old vines because they give us such beautiful, wonderful fruit.
It's so elegant on the palate. I mean, it enters with that attack of fruit, but then it sort of comes together. It coats the whole palate, but it doesn't feel heavy. There's no big oak presence. You do have a long finish, and it's like a caress. It's a very beautiful wine. In terms of a wine food pairing, what would you pair this with?
Well, of course, you know, your usual, your steak, your lamb, your pork, your prime rib. I'm not a big meat eater, but I love it. I make a pizza that has spinach and basil and my homegrown tomatoes and goat cheese, and it's so beautiful with that.
It's fantastic, Maryanne. I thank you for the opportunity. This is a great wine. Both have been fantastic, and something that I have to commend your winery for. Even though you are royalty, because you've won accolades all over the world, including Judgment of Paris, one of the big ones, you have maintained reasonable prices for us consumers. Like, that's my main message here. I'm a collector, I'm a consumer, I enjoy wine, but nowadays there are certain Napa wines that were probably founded 10 years ago. They don't have the track record that you guys have and cost 2 or 3 or 4 times what your wines cost. So keep that in mind, that the consumers out there, we really need to be able to, when we enjoy a wine, not have to mortgage the house to buy a good case.
We want you to be able to enjoy the wine, and owning our own vineyards and farming them ourselves, that really helps us to be able to maintain the price, and that's so important to us.
It is. Thank you, Maryanne. Thank you so much, amigos y amigas. Estos son unos vinos extraordinarios. Si no los han probado, denles una oportunidad. Gurgage Hills hacen un fantástico Chardonnay y un extraordinario Cabernet Sauvignon. Será hasta la próxima. Seguimos informando aquí desde el Fine Wine Celebration de Plaza Cellars. Salud.